I think Tviq was like a very insane player that obviously had a lot of like public traction. Like he was very famous before Overwatch League, but people really lashed out at him during season 1, and I feel like that still haunts him. I feel like, you know, again, I'm one of the lucky persons that got away from Mayhem. In terms of like deals that he brought to me, I think that honestly saved my ass pretty hard, because people still thought of me as a good player on a bad team.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Player Hustle. We have Logix here, Mr. Logix. Thank Mr. Logix. What's up, dude? You also named the creative self. How did you come up with that name?
There used to be a player back in League of Legends called Piglet that used the account name. He shared the account name with someone else, so creative self, the last L, if you like capitalize an I in League of Legends, it basically looks the same. I always really enjoyed the name, and quite frankly, I'm not that creative, so I always liked the name. I kind of just stole it when I made my alt account on Overwatch, so I don't know, just something I enjoy.
So you say you're not very creative, but what would be the strength, one of the strengths, so to say, that counters the creativity that you, so to say, miss, that you feel like you miss?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Hard hitting right off the bat.
Hard hitting right off the bat. No, I feel like in general, like not the most creative person, but I make that up with, I think, more logical, I suppose. My name's Logix. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that, to be fair. That's a great tough.
Oh no, that's a great answer. Thinking by logic, you're very good at problem solving, I assume.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, you probably like problem solving, and the way you clutch in games, that's pretty much problem solving as well. Have you ever had any moments in games where it feels like you basically have to solve the Da Vinci Code on the fly?
I wouldn't quite go as far as solving the Da Vinci Code, but obviously Overwatch is a very fast-paced game. Things need to happen quickly. Obviously, combine that with having to work together with teammates. So there's definitely like a lot of on-the-go things that you need to solve, quick like problems that need to be solving, or just in general like working together with a teammate. So it's definitely like one of the more fun aspects of Overwatch to me.
When Dive became popular, for example, did you feel like it was a big learning curve for you as a Tracer player, or just Hitscan in general, to sync up with your teammates? How did you adapt to it, and how did you deal with it?
Dive was definitely like a very interesting meta, because I feel like obviously it's such a long time ago in the game, so I think people overall skill level was down compared to now. But the sheer skill it took to pull off a proper dive was very undervalued, I think. Obviously, like later Profit and Gesture made it obviously like the best possible combo working together. But it was honestly like a lot of fun trying to coordinate, and it was something that was actually very hard to pull off. Yeah, it was honestly a lot of fun though, like one of the better metas to play, for sure.
You started playing Dive in Movie Star Riders, I think. If I'm remembering correctly, that's like when Dive started to come in. Did it feel like you had to do a lot of calling on Tracer back then, or less? And how does that compare to today?
So I think there was like two different metas during Dive, where at first like your tanks would definitely have a lot more intake on when to dive. Obviously it was my monkey player at the time, Swoosh. And then at one point tanks had the opportunity to hide, and the DPS had to look more for flanks. I think in general though, the Tracer player was always a player that was up most, obviously, because Monkey and Genji obviously have like shorter dash ranges. Tracer being the most mobile one, had the best opportunity to look for the Zenyatta or whatever target they want to dive. But I'd say Tracer had to be very vocal. I was always a player that was very like into target calling as well, so that was like my most vocal role, I'd say. During the fight, I get pretty extreme with target calls.
So speaking of just being a player who liked being focused on target calls, when you made the name Logix, when you made like your first steps into Overwatch, so to say, competitive Overwatch, did you have any player in mind that you wanted to become, or that you felt like was your true self as a player, so to say?
I wouldn't say I wasn't that focused on any player in specific. I mean, obviously there's like, coming into a game as a player, people that have already played in like the closed beta, they were already regarded as like really good players. So there's definitely people you look up to. Like I think during the first year and a half playing Overwatch, like I really look up to Tainu and Berghmans as Hitscan players. Obviously, you know, they had like insane highlights. To see that as a player is always very aspiring. But I wouldn't say there was like a player in specific where I'm like, holy like crap, that's like a player that I feel like I can become like.
What about characteristics for yourself? For example, when someone else looks at Logix, or when you look at the player Logix from a third-person perspective, so to say, you know, kind of stepping into a more abstract question.
How would I describe myself? Or
yeah, like when you started out, did you have anything in mind, so to say, or was it more like just natural, like developing as it comes?
I'd say it was sort of natural. I played Call of Duty 4 Pro Mode before, which was also in team form. But I was never really, like, Overwatch was the first game that I played at a really high level. So I'd say, like, I learned a lot about being a professional and a teammate. So it definitely came with a lot of learning. And I think that learning made me the player I am today. I wouldn't say I had, like, specific characteristics in mind that I wanted to be a certain player, though.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because you have, like, the star players, you have the thinking players, hybrids, you know. Moving then into Misfits, or, well, also World Cup, how did it level you up as a player?
Those are definitely two separate things. Obviously, World Cup, I participated with Team Belgium. Belgium as a country doesn't really have that many professional players or people that play at a high level. The biggest people that were known in our team was obviously me and Spree at the time. Bod, who was like a very OG Overwatch player. I don't think Afox was as known at the time, but he was definitely like a person coming up. So like I'd say we had a pretty rough World Cup, but honestly, like the experience itself, like getting to bring players that didn't have any previous competitive experience, you know, getting them to go to California was obviously like a huge joy. Obviously, we didn't make a good showing, but at the end of the day, like it was a good learning experience for them, and honestly, it was a lot of fun.
What would you say a younger Logix would need in form of a device in order to become a better Logix today or tomorrow, so to say? What did you wish that you had have known?
I feel like I'm overall pretty happy with, like, obviously the progress I've made as a player. I don't think there's like any gaping holes. I mean, like the obvious one right now would be being able to speak more languages, I suppose. Like I would love to be fluent in French and Korean. That's something that you learn in the present. That's not something like I would have necessarily wanted myself to know beforehand. In general, like I like the progress that I've made as a player. I guess you could always want to be mechanically more skilled, but I think that's something you can grind as well. So I wouldn't say anything in particular.
Did you have to grind a lot?
I've generally been a player that when I pick up a game, I tend to get pretty good at it pretty quickly. So in that sense, I'd say I'm talented, playing video games at least.
Yeah, is it like a click moment that you get, or more like it just happens?
I'd say it comes natural. Like, granted, I've never really played like a lot of different games. Like I've always stuck to one game. But I picked up League of Legends fairly quickly. I picked up CSGO really quickly. I picked up Call of Duty 4 Pro Mode really quickly. The same happened with Overwatch. Like, I was always the best player in my like group of friends. I always picked up things really quickly. Now that combined with obviously being a person that is really competitive and grinds a lot, I do think that makes me a good player. You know, like I think you can have like an initial talent approach to it, and you can be very good at something. But obviously, if you don't put in the hours, someone else will. Even if they're not talented, they might outbeat you.
No, I definitely know exactly what you mean. I'm not that person myself, but I know like there's always one person in every friend group that's just insane at games, every game, like right off the bat. Like you have someone who's good at Dota, and then they become good at League, COD, like you say, Overwatch. And I sort of always wondered like what goes on in their head, so to say, like how do they do it? And I guess it comes with the way they practice, the way they approach the game, and just breaking down obstacles into smaller obstacles. And yeah, thinking logically, Mr. Logix.
Yeah, honestly, like it's really weird, obviously, because I do notice that I pick up things really quickly, but it's not like I do something like particularly. Like it's not like I go into a game with a certain mindset of like, I need to figure this out really quick, or I need to become really good at this one thing at this game. I kind of just start playing the game, and I have a tendency to pick up the things that are valuable pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But it's not like an active mindset.
No, yeah.
It's kind of just like
patterns.
It's hard to describe.
You can see patterns.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Did it feel like when you went into Overwatch League, did you notice the game developing into a different game compared to pre-Overwatch League? Like the way you just practice, the way you handle match prep, individual practice, etc.?
It was honestly a whole different world. Obviously, all the regions coming together. Like, I mean, obviously we got our ass whooped with Mayhem in season 1. Furthermore, like the entire best player base coming together in LA, getting to scrim each other, getting to know like all the different coaches. Because obviously, like I feel like coaches stepped up a lot with Overwatch League coming out as well. I feel like it became like a more full-time thing. Because before, at least in Europe, it felt as though coaches were more there to book scrims. They obviously like gave feedback, but I feel like it was a lot more player driven before.
Yeah, it was like a luggage, baggage. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like he would record your VOD, obviously would give a little bit of feedback, but they would book scrims. Like they would be like manager coach, I suppose, a little bit of both. But obviously with Overwatch League, people had like proper managers, people had proper coaches. So like the whole thing became a lot more legit, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, overall in Overwatch League, like everyone being together in one area, like considered like all the best players, or like people that are considered the best players, scrimming each other for months upon months, I think overall like improved everyone as a player. It was very interesting strategy-wise because I do think there is not a whole lot of good coaches in Overwatch League, but everyone would always copy the best team strategies. So there was like strategies that got developed by the best teams, people would copy them, and within a week they would already be countered. So like there would be things that are played in scrims during season 1 that wouldn't even make it out of scrims to stage. So it was always very, very cool to see how like fast people were developing new skills and strategies.
Yeah. I feel the same, especially compared to before, where maybe you have like a month to prepare. Let's say Apex tournaments, you have a month in between the matches, and you can scrim tanks versus NIP for a month straight, and then head into a match and you dumpster everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
When you also entered the Overwatch League, did you notice any shift in the way you think about individual branding?
Definitely felt like a more professional approach to things. Like when you're someone just, obviously playing for Movistar Riders, playing for Misfits, I was just some guy sitting at home. Well, obviously with Movistar Riders, I lived in Spain, but even then it didn't feel as professional, like you live in an apartment with 5 other people. Misfits, I basically just stayed at home. I got to do whatever I wanted, and then every time we needed to scrim or show up for a match, we did so. With Overwatch League, it definitely felt like every team had a media team behind them, so there was definitely like a lot more focus on hey, you get to do interviews here. Obviously after every match there's like a bunch of media outlets that would interviews with certain people, so it felt like the media aspect was a lot more serious. It's in terms of like personal branding, I feel like it's very different from player to player. There's people that very much face the challenge of social media. There's other people that kind of just go with it. I think on our team, Swoosh was like a very good example in season 1, like someone who absolutely loved the media attention. Was obviously the front running for doing like little entrance dances. Whilst I would say Zibosai was a player that like pretty much shied away from media. Like he didn't care too much. He didn't really need the attention. Like it didn't bother him too much. So I feel like there's definitely different players that have a different approach to social media. Like right now, obviously, I'd say I'm pretty neutral. Like, I mean, I'm very happy with the Tech Logix meme. That wasn't really cliche in that sense. I like to do media. I wouldn't go out of my way to do like extra media necessarily, but whenever media comes and if someone asks me for an interview, I will always do it.
Speaking of just media and then all that player branding, like if you have a big brand, it's easier to get your name out there if you get like looking for team, etc. Or let's say that you want to do some initiative like tournament or whatever, anything basically.
Yeah.
How did you deal with the results that Mayhem had after season 1, heading into season 2, and then season 3 now, or 2020?
Yeah, so I feel like I was one of the players who, obviously, everyone had backlash on Mayhem, like quite a bit of backlash. We came in as an EU super team, sort of say. We had really good results. Obviously, we didn't look good at the Contenders LAN, but we were hopeful. People were still cheering for us. Obviously, like going, I think we went, 6 wins, 34 losses eventually. Like a very tragic first season. It definitely like hits a player career really badly. I think some people are still seeing the effect of that. I think Zupe is a great player, but people see him as the Mayhem Zupe, who didn't do good in Overwatch League. Now, luckily, I developed Attack Mixed Melodies team. I do think that definitely helped my career. That being said, I was never really the person to let media influence my opinion of myself. I'd say I'm a fairly confident player in my own ability, and I think it's important because once you're on a team like Mayhem, you definitely learn a lot in terms of like mindset and mentality. But at the same time, if your public opinion isn't good, like I think Tviq was like a very insane player that obviously had a lot of like public traction. Like he was very famous before Overwatch League, but people really lashed out at him during season 1, and I feel like that still haunts him. I feel like, you know, again, I'm one of the lucky persons that got away from Mayhem. In terms of like deals that he brought to me, I think that honestly saved my ass pretty hard, because people still thought of me as a good player on a bad team. So I mean, I guess I'm very lucky in that sense, because I'm a pretty selfless player. So I do think like I carry the same amount of blame as every other person on Mayhem. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky in that sense that the public perception was good for me at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any sort of plan in 2020 as Mr. Logix of Toronto Defiant? Do you have any like plans to engage with the fans, or maybe develop your own brand, or do you have any ideas like of what you wanna achieve in 2020?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as personal branding, obviously, like I wanna continue the Thank Mr. Logic thing. You know, every time I pop off in game, it's like absolutely amazing to see how much like supporters and the Thank Mr. Logic meme just makes me smile so much. Seeing people just cheer for that, I guess not necessarily persona, but for that meme in general, it's like a lot of fun. I mean, going into 2020, I'd say I'm the least popular DPS player on my team, which is definitely interesting. I mean, I'm very happy to be surrounded by Surfer, Brady, and Mangachu. They're all very incredibly talented. That being said, they all have a lot of big branding, so I'll definitely have to grow my own branding to match up with them. But I mean, in general, like the team comes first for me. I wouldn't say that branding is the biggest of my focus going into the season. I would describe myself as a pretty selfless player, so if someone takes the praise, like I honestly don't mind too much now. I guess for the sake of branding, like I should care more. So like I definitely do try and stream. I try and be out there. I should definitely be more active on social media, but I'm not very good at it. But in general, you know, like I do my best where I can, and I'll see where that takes me.
What's your absolute focus for 2020?
Winning Overwatch League. It sounds, you know.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Perfect goal.
But like, I do think we are a brand new team. I do think we have some of the best. Like, I honestly think we can be the best Western team to ever have existed. Obviously, we have Karif, but I consider my Western at this point. Like, he's super fun. He's amazing to be around. It was a lot of fun. Like, we went to boot camp in Korea for 2.5 weeks. It was really interesting to get to know the coaches, get to know all my new teammates, and it definitely made me super excited for 2020. It'll be interesting to see how we develop as a team. That being said, I got a lot of good feelings from the boot camp. So,
how are you gonna? So, one last question before wrapping it. How are you gonna relax when traveling? How are you gonna wind down when there's a lot of stress from the matches?
That's a fairly interesting question. I wouldn't say I have like a set in mind plan that I have like, if I'm very stressed, I want to do this. It's something that I would honestly say I can struggle with coming up in the next season. Like I've definitely looked into things that can help me relax, whether that be meditation or just in general, like finding a way to calm down outside of the game, try to find another focus besides just like screaming, obviously. I wouldn't say I've found that focus just yet. But I feel like it's something going into next season I would have to learn as we go, because I think this season is going to be a lot of different pressure points compared to the last one. Obviously, the last season was a lot of pressure in terms of like expectations and scrimming and grinding a lot. I think this season people will not feel that same pressure as much because there's a lot more traveling that will take your attention. But I think people will have to deal with different like factors of stress. And I think everyone will just have to learn as they go and, you know, share with each other what helps them de-stress during a stressful time.
Yeah. Do you have any like favorite activity when you're not playing?
No, I'd say I'm pretty addicted to the game, which is
that's
worrying,
fine.
because I'm someone who grinds a lot. I'm a very competitive person, so most of the time I spend behind the PC. I will try to. It's something it's really strange because it's something I really picked up from Saya player. I would always describe myself as a very grind-like player before Overwatch League. And then Saya player joined me and made me realize that what I did wasn't even close to what he was doing. Like whenever he would be awake, he would just be playing aim here, he would be playing with a headshot, he would be playing ranked, he would be just pushing himself to be a better player. And honestly, like it really inspired me as a player. So he's like one of the players that definitely made me realize what it's like to be a professional player that takes his job like super serious.
Let's hear your social media, by the way. Plug your Instagram, your Twitter, your Twitch, everything.
Instagram.com/Logix.w, Twitter, Logix.w as well. My Twitch, Logix.w as well. Still trying to get Logix on everything there, but it seems to be harder than I thought it would be. If you search for Logix.w, you should be able to find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. So
cool.
That's the main one I use.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining, man.
Thank you so much for having me.